Hi everyone. Right, we're on the body lengthening rows now. We've done our widening rows. This is our mini Hexi cardigan. These are the fronts. We've sewn the shoulder seams up, and we've done the body widening rows at the back and sewed them up. What we're going to do now is to add some length to the body along the bottom here. But what I thought I'd show you quickly first is sewing in ends. So I'm just going to use a knitter's needle or wool needle. We sell them here in the shop. You get 2 in a pack. They've got quite a decent eye. You get a sharp one and a slightly more blunt one. I don't like my needles too fat because you need to get it through the wool. But if you struggle with the eye, then we do some slightly larger ones. The John James Pebble, and you get a nice little kit with those. You get 3 different sizes in that. Okay, so this is the right side of my work. This is going to be the outside. Okay, so I'm just going to, so when you're sewing in ends, you want to make sure that they're secure. So I'm going to sew them in on the wrong side. So I'm going to get any threads over to the wrong side. So for this one, I'm just going to weave it in, and I kind of try and do a rule of 3. So you're just going 3 different directions. So that's one direction, and I'm constantly turning my work so that, because I'm working from right to left, being a right-hander, and I'm going to get my needle underneath the loops, but not so that they show on the other side. That's the second direction. Now, if you're running out of space, you can go back again. Just make sure you catch another little piece of thread so you don't just undo exactly what you've done. So that's 3 different directions. I might just go one more just to be absolutely sure. One that way, and then I'm going to snip my thread off nice and close without actually cutting through. And that's sewing in ends. So you don't want it to show on the outside, on the right side. Okay, I'm just going to show you sewing in the ends on the start if you haven't done this already. So we started with a chain rather than a magic ring because it's a little bit more secure. But we're just going to make it even more so now. So with the end that created the start of your work, I'm just going to thread it round through those initial stitches that we did. So just hiding it inside there and pulling it in tight. And as you can see, I've closed the hole a little bit because I'm pulling it in. Okay, so this is the right side of my work. So I'm going to take that through to the wrong side, and then I'm going to do my rule of 3. Going to do 1, 2, and then along that way as well, 3, and that should be pretty secure now. Okay, so that's sewing in your ends. So moving on to the body lengthening rows. So you can do as many or as few as you like here. So on the pattern, the longer cardigan has 16 rows. Okay, I've done a lot more on my sort of knee length cardigan, or you can do fewer if you just want a more boxy look. The shorter cardigan, that only has 7 rows, I think it is, and then it has a rib along the bottom. This one also has a double crochet edge just to finish it off along the bottom. Okay, so let's crack on. So we're going to work along the bottom of your cardigan here. So if you turn it so it's upside down, so the shoulder's at the bottom, but with the right side facing you, so the outside of your work facing you. And it says we're going to join your next yarn shade in the corner space. So we're working from right to left, or if you're left-handed, from left to right. So we're going to join in this bottom corner space here. Okay. I'm going to use a different colour yarn again for you so you can see that. So join that, and then it says row 1, it says 3 chain. So 1, 2, 3 chain, and then 1 treble in the corner space. So again, into that same space you're going to do a treble. Okay, and then it says 3 treble in the space before each 3 treble group across the bottom of the first hexagon. So what it means by the first hexagon is my grey one, so before you get to these body widening rows. Okay, so we're just doing groups of 3 trebles, exactly as we've been doing for the rest of the cardigan. Oh, I've got splitty wool. Let's try again. 2, 3. So you work all the way across until you get to your next corner, but you're not going to be working into that corner. And I will just get there, and then I will show you what we will be doing. Ooh, this wool's a bit splitty. It's all right, I'm going to go back and do that one again. Okay, so I've done 3 trebles in each of the spaces between the 3 trebles of the previous row, right up until the one before this corner space here. So this is your corner space of your first hexagon before you did the body widening rows. If I move that out of the way. So at the moment you've been working and your trebles are all going this way. Now, because these were widening rows, your trebles are going that way, not that way. So we're going to have to work into the what it calls the row ends. So these are your body widening rows, and these are the row ends. So they're not like working into the gaps that we've done along here. Okay. So it says, now working across the row ends of the body widening rows, missing the corner space. So I'm going to miss the corner space, work 3 trebles under the treble of the first row end. So this is my first row end. I'm going to do 3 trebles underneath that end treble. Okay, so your first row of your body widening rows, you had 2 trebles at each end. Okay, so we're going to do 3 trebles under one of those. Then it says miss the second row end. So I'm going to miss that row end. I'm going to go into the third row end, and you do 3 treble under the treble of the third row end. So just what we did before. 1, 2, 3 into that treble that's going that way, not that way. Okay, so under that in there, and then it says I'm going to do 1 treble under the treble of the 4th row end. So 1 there in my 4th row end, 1 treble in the center join, so where we did our stitching. You might just have to wiggle your hook underneath. You kind of have to create a space for it to go. Okay, and then 1 treble under the 4th row end of the other side of your cardigan. Okay, so we've got groups of 3 trebles all along, and then we've got this group of 3 trebles. They look a bit spread out, but that's because we need to bring the back in just a little bit. So they act as a group of 3 trebles. And then we're going to repeat what we did on this side. So we're going to do 3 trebles under the next row end. Then we're going to miss a row, and then we're going to do 3 trebles under that first row end in there. Then you've got a corner space, so we're going to miss that corner space, and we're going to jump over to the next one. 3. I'm going to go all the way to the end now, and when we get to the corner space, we're going to do 2 trebles there, and then we're going to turn. So just get to the end quickly. Two. I'm rushing. 3. 1. 2. 3. Right, and this final corner space, it says to do 2 trebles in the corner space. 1, 2. Okay, these numbers here, these correspond to the sizes of whichever size you're doing, but we've kind of gone off piste a little bit, so don't worry about that too much. It just tells you how many 3 treble groups you should have. So if I was doing the smaller size, I would have 41 3 treble groups, and then 2 treble groups. So the ones on the ends are the 2 trebles, all the rest are 3 treble groups. Okay, just so you know what that means. Right, row 2. So if you're joining yarn, join your yarn. If not, then it's 3 chain, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do 3 trebles directly into this space here, okay? 1, 2, 3, and then going to do 3 trebles all the way along, and when we get to this center seam, I'll show you what to do. Right, I've just done 3 trebles all the way along, and I've just come to, this is the set of 3 trebles at the center seam. So we count those as a group of 3, and either side there's a group of 3. So my next group of 3 trebles is going to go in there, and then the next group is going to go in there. So just treat these rather spread out looking trebles as a group of 3, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Don't be tempted to go in between them, because your cardigan will stick out of the back. This kind of draws it in a little bit. Helps it tuck under your tail. 3, and then we're going to go all the way to the end. And just like with the body widening rows, when we get to the corner, well, it's not a corner anymore, to the end here, we're going to do 3 trebles in this last hole, and then we're just going to do 1 treble in the top of that stitch. Okay, so I'll meet you just before we get to there. Right, I've just worked my trebles all the way across. I'm just going to do my last set of 3 trebles into this gap here. And then we're just going to do 1 treble in the top of this treble. It's actually 3 chains that we did at the beginning of row 1. So I'm just going to squidge my hook in there. Sometimes it's a bit tricky to find a gap. Okay, so row 1, you should have what looks like 2 trebles at the end of the row, and then the rest is 3. Row 2, you have what looks like 1 treble at the end of each row. And now row 3, we're going to go back to making it look like 2 trebles. So we're going to turn our work. We're going to do 3 chains. And then we're going to do 1 treble in that space right next to where we've just done our 3 chains. And that looks now like 2 trebles on the end there. We're going to jump to the next gap, 3 trebles. And that's what you're going to do all the way across your work. When you get to your centre seam, you've got a very normal looking group of 3 trebles now. And then when you get to the end, you're going to make it look like 2. So you're going to do 1 treble into that gap and then 1 treble into the top. Okay. Okay, so I've almost got to the end here. So I'm going to do my group of 3 trebles in the next gap. In the end one, I'm going to do 1 treble in there, and I'm going to do 1 treble in a stitch, so that it will look like, well, it will be 2 trebles on the end, just like in row 1. So last gap, I'm going to do 1 treble in there, and then 1 treble into the top of that chain 3. Ooh. Then we're going to turn, and then row 4. So I've done 1, 2, 3. So row 4 is a repeat of row 2. So we're going to do chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do 3 trebles straight into that gap. 3. Then you're going to go all the way across, and then when you get to the end, you'll do 3 trebles in that gap, and then you'll just do 1 stitch on the top of that last stitch. Hope that makes sense. Right, I'm just coming to the end of row 4, so I'm just going to do 3 trebles into that gap there. 1, 2, 3, and then row 1 is 2 trebles, row 2 is 3, no, row 2 is 1, row 3 has 2 trebles, so row 4 has 1. So we're just going to do 1 treble, God, I confused myself then, in the top of that first 3 chain. Okay, so you continue growing the length of your cardigan in this way, just repeating those rows, okay, until you get it as long as you want to. And then to get a nice neat edge along the bottom, and you can do this in a contrast yarn if you want to, or you can do it in your same yarn. So I've got a bit of a knot going on here. We're going to do a double crochet in the top of each treble stitch. We're going to do 2 rows of this. Okay, so this is the right side of my work facing me. My stitches, I'm going to have to turn them slightly towards me to see my stitches. So we're just going to do 1 double crochet in the top of each of those treble stitches. Okay, so we're we're doing double crochet, so we're going to do 1 chain to get the hook up to the right height, and then double crochet is just hook in, pull up a loop, so hook in. After doing trebles the whole time, it gets confusing, doesn't it? Hook in, pull up a loop. You don't want to do this too tight. If you do it too tight, you're going to draw your work in, and then it's going to come in at the bottom. So when you pull up that loop, you don't want it too loose like that. You just want it to be at the same height as the hook. Okay, yarn over and pull through. Though I didn't work, did it? Right, let's try again. So hook into the stitch, pull a loop up. If it's too tight, you're going to draw your work in, so just loosen it off a bit here, yarn over and pull it through. Okay, and you're just going to do 1 of those little double crochets in each of your stitches across, and I'll meet you when we get to the other end. Right, just coming to the end of doing my double crochets. So that's 1 in the top of each of those 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then just 1 in the end there. Okay, then we're going to turn. You're going to do chain 1, and then you're going to go back again. So you can do 1, 2, 3 rows, however many you want. Just gives it a nice finish, and it stops those edges curling up. So just do 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of double crochet, however many you want. Okay, that's it.